People often ask, what would be the ultimate knives you would bring with you outdoor? Like, if you only had one knife, what would it be? So to me, that question is a trap, because if there was only one cutting tool that I would bring with me, it wouldn't be a knife. It would be a hatchet. There is very little this little hatchet can't do. And compared to a knife, for example, there's a lot of things a knife, even a big knife, can do compared to this hatchet. And we'll go over that in a few seconds. Hi everyone, Adrian here. Welcome back to Wild Bush and Grit. In this episode, I want to talk to you about my knife system. So knives, what do I use when I go on expeditions, hunt, fishing, camping, all these outdoor endeavor? What equipment, what cutting tools do I bring with me? So in terms of EDC, like what I usually carry with me every day, it's this one. They're, full folding blades. These are Ontario knives. They're made by Ontario Knives, and they are stainless steel. Very sharp. I mean, you can cut anything. So stainless steel, they don't rust, easy to maintain. I like the portability, like you fold them, you can keep them in your pocket, they're nicely tucked. And I will usually do light stuff, opening packages or things like that. I can cut ropes if needed. At camp, I prefer other type of knives at camp, but usually these are my backup knife. I will always have one in the pocket, so when I'm doing something a bit further, I see my knife, in the tent or in the car, and I don't have it, and I have this, one of these two. All right, so the reason I have two is because I had this is the first one that I had for some time, and I lost it. If I lost it, how come is it here? I'll tell you the story, but I lost it, and I was, I really liked it, and I wanted to replace it, so I went on and bought this one. It's, I think they're both great, but I prefer the Rat 2 over this one, and the reason is, even though this one is sturdier, it has a thicker blade. It's nice for prying out stuff, using that the thickness of the knife, so you can actually pry things with it. But the blade's curvature, this one has the part, it curves in and out, and it makes it harder to sharpen, as opposed to this one, which has like a very, very, very straight edge. And then after, you have the belly of the knife, and even the belly is not as pronounced as it is on the part U. That being said, I really like them both, and it's to me, for the price that you pay for these knives, they're fairly very affordable. Like, I think this one was oh my god, me and prices, I don't remember quite well. I'll correct if I'm wrong on the video, but I think this one was around $35, and this one was way more expensive. This one was about $65 if I remember well. But I'll double check on my purchase history, and I'll bring up the right price. When I started to get serious with the outdoor stuff and all that, I wanted a knife that could endure, the abuse of camp life. And I started with Morakniv. I'm sure if you probably heard the name before if you've been looking for knives. And this is a carbon blade HD companion. And I have my second one here. This is stainless steel. This is just a companion. So this one is, so the main difference between the two is the HD is a tad thicker. Not by a lot, but it's slightly thicker. So one is carbon. It has the handle is also fuller, it has a bigger handle, so especially if you have big hands. I do have big hands, and sometimes it's a problem. Like, I have some issues sometimes with items that are a little bit too small, but this one feels really, really nice. And it's true that this one, I do not have a strong grip. My grip is not as strong on the companion than the HD companion. So if you have big hand, like, you know, I'm 5'11", but my hands are you know, like larger than what so anyway, like, so if you have fairly large palm, long fingers, you'd surely appreciate the depth of body the handle of the HD companion has. Now this knife gets really sharp. You know, I sharpen my knives with Japanese whetstone. You know, it has 1,000 and 6,000 grit, and yeah, you know, you can really get like very fine, sharp edges on these knives. The stainless steel is definitely easier to maintain. You know, like this one. So this is a knife I will usually cook with. You know, cutting vegetables and onions. I will go fishing. I can gut fish. Even though it's not my favorite knives to gut fish, I can do the job, of course. And I would use my the other one, the carbon knives, to work around the camp. You know, less wet stuff. You know, not much cooking, but like, you know, maybe deer processing or things like that, or skinning. Yeah, we use these knives. Now I had these knives. You know, I had 3 Morakniv. I lost one, and it's okay. I'm not crying a river over losing one. The reason is the price are reasonable. You know, the Morakniv overall are like between $20 to $25 for what you get in terms of quality and price. I don't think you'll find, honestly, I don't think you'll find a better knife than the Morakniv. And I like this knife so much that I even wanted to kind of increase the well, you know, I think every knives collection needs at least one full tang, meaning that the metal of the blade go through all the way through the handle. So this one here. So this is the Gardberg from Morakniv, and this one is definitely pricier than the other one. It's my most expensive knife, actually. I bought this one for $125. Just recently, you know, I had the other one for almost like 4 or 5 years, and I received this one last week. So I didn't use it much yet, so I will not, you know, give a full review. But being a Morakniv, I'm sure it will fulfill its purpose. Like, I have no doubt. And this one also is carbon, so you know, the blade will need to be oiled and maintained regularly. And the top here of the blade, it's sharp. You know, it has like a good sharp angle, so you can really strike firewood and start your fire with this. So I think, you know, to work around camp and all that, I think this Morakniv are really very cool knives. Now let's say we want to amp up the intensity of the work and, you know, start getting a bit more serious into chopping wood, making kindling for fire and all that. This is what I bring. So this is my Grainsford Brooks. This is probably my most expensive tool here. You know, the knife, my most expensive knife is Morakniv, $125. This hatchet was about $200. And don't mind the paracord here. I'm just making some tests to see if I'm gonna, you know, if I prefer to have this just for better grip. As I said, I have large hand, and having a little bit more extra, you know, gives a little bit more comfort to work with, because to me it's a little bit skinny. But adding a little bit more paracord, so far I had it about for a week. So far I think I like this. But that being said, so if I only had one tool with me out there at camp, this is the tool that I want to have with me. First reason is, well, mainly because I think it's super versatile in terms of what you can do. That edge gets really sharp. It's like crazy sharp. You can shave you know, you can shave off with this edge. Right now it's not so sharp, but usually when I'm done with it, it's like razor sharp. So I can skin fish. I can, you know, clean up carcasses, animal carcasses. I will definitely chop some wood to some extent. You know, I don't think I will bring down any big tree and like build a big shelter. Like, or in terms of survival, I think this will do the trick. The versatility this little hatchet offer is incredible. And you know, like with this, I can like, so I will drive peg through the ground using the back here of the hatchet, and it's yeah, it's one of my most prized tool in my when I'm out there. Yes, this one. So I think the most underrated knives that I have, and the use that I've made with, you know, the amount of things that I've done with this knife here. So it's a Rapala knife. It's a small fillet knife, but this is so useful. I will field dress a deer with this knife under 5 minutes. You know, and once we've reached camp, I can debone carcasses with using this this little knife here. Of course, if I want to make steaks and, you know, like cut larger piece and you want a clean cut, definitely this is too small. You probably want like a longer chef knife, you know, to make some nice steaks cuts. But yes, I can process an entire deer with just this tiny little knife here. It gets really sharp, and it's only $10. This knife's about $10. I've had it for like about 3 years, yeah. And I've done it all with it, you know, like fishes, deer, and it's great. Oh, one thing about this hatchet also, I usually skin deer with this. So, you know, once the deer is dead, hanged up, and I start peeling off the skin, I will use that super long edge to just slice between the skin and the you know, the muscle group, and the skin comes up really easily. So going back to this little Rapala, you know, it's light, it goes very well in my hunting pack, it doesn't weigh literally virtually nothing, and it's super useful. I'm not a big fan of big Bowie knives. I think, you know, they're cool, they have their use, but to me, I think smaller knife gives me greater control of what I do, less material to sharpen as well, and yeah, it's and they're, you know, small and light. It's cool. So around camp, another tool that I really love having with me is a folding saw, like this backhoe laplander here. This one is great. You know, I will prepare firewood with this, and this and the axe makes, you know, this is a great combo for fire making. And, you know, you can bring fairly large trunk into sizable pieces, and then after you use the axe to create filling and all these things. And the last but not least, it's the Excalibur here. So I don't use it a lot, you know, it's not like super for what I do outdoor, but it's a great balance between the saw and the hatchet, because I've cut fairly large, you know, good size trunk with this, just like chopping through it. I would say it's really useful when you're clearing up a trail. You know, when, let's say you need to bring out a moose, or your friend shot a deer on the mountain, and you need to bring in the ATV and you need to clear up some space. I think this is really cool. You go in the trail and you just like create your lane to so the moose can be extracted. So this is yeah, I really like this, but I don't use it a lot. So I would usually keep it in the trunk of the car, of the Jeep, and use it when it's necessary. I would like to talk about this specialty knife here, which is also an option if you're looking for something to work around the wood. I find these knives, okay, so this is a Japanese carving, you know, wood carving knife. And I bought it years ago when I was working wood. I developed a passion for Japanese tools, you know, all the Japanese woodworking tools. I think they have great stuff. And yeah, so that was one of the things. I think I got this one on eBay. I don't remember how much, But what I like particularly is, you know, you see the angle of the blade, and you know, it's only one side. So this side here is just flat. So when you sharpen it, you can, you know, you put it flat on the thing, on your stone, and then you sharpen the other side of it. But it gets really sharp, and this is great to make. This is for when you're making, you know, killing for fire and all that. I think this is a great tool. Also use it for finish occasionally. It gets so sharp. This is insane. And it's carbon. It is rusting, so you need to maintain it properly. But you can look into this type of. I forgot the name. I'll find the name and I'll add it in the description below. But it has a very specific Japanese name, and it's. I really like it. The only thing, you know, and that's for this model particularly, the wood is so light. The balance in hand is not great. It feels very cheap, very plasticky. But you know, I wish I had like a heavier handle on it. So yeah. But yeah, this one is also very cool. So cool, I managed myself not to cut any finger. 10, you can count to 10 on each side, 5 on each side, that's good, no bleeding. Yeah, so, you know, of course you can buy expensive knives out there, you know, like the Morakniv are fairly priced, and you can definitely buy more expensive, much more nicer knives, right, you know, with like wood handle and like, you know, curly maple or burley wood, whatever the name they have for these fancy woods. But I've decided not to get, you know, anything more like again, the most expensive knife that I have is this $125 knives, and if I were to lose this knife, well, I just lost $125, which is Canadian, by the way, so it's what, maybe $15 US. No, but no kidding. It's like if you get like a $300, I know a $300 knife that I lose, I will cry a river for month. You know, when I lost my Ontario rat here a few years back, and actually we find it a year later at camp. It was like, you know, under the bed somewhere. I was so relieved to find it, and I know I already had bought one, but I was, you know. The price I paid back then was, again, I'll double check, I think it was around 30 something dollar. The price I paid back then versus and losing that object, like, you know, was very traumatic, so to speak. So I can't imagine losing a $300, $400, $500 knives, you know, with what we do. And I also lost the Mora knives, you know. Actually this year in May I was fishing landlocked salmon, and I was taking picture of the fish, and then I still have that picture. Every time I see that picture, I see the knife, I'm like, I have like, you know, my heart has a little pinch, and I lost it. I never find it again. I went back, I looked everywhere, I couldn't find the knife, so maybe I dropped it in the water while I was in a kayak, I don't know. But so I was saying, you know, it's if you get a pricier knife, I don't see how much more useful a knife can be. You know, when you have, for example, like this, full tang, carbon, nice handle, everything. It comes with actually a really nice shade that is actually on my backpack right now. How much more useful a knife can be for $500? I don't know, you know, better steel, better, okay, sure, it'll cut, but you'll still need to sharpen it, you'll still need to, so to me, I prefer to put the rest of my money somewhere else. You know, like, I think the price that I have for my blades here are fine for what I need to do with them, and I prefer to put, you know, I'd rather spend my money on the Jeep, on, you know, better component for my Jeep, for example, you know, for the Jeep to be reliable, because I'm going so far deep in the wood, I still need to come back. So there are places where I don't want to skimp, and there are places like knives where spending more doesn't bring you more value out of, you know, the tool that you actually have, despite being really nice object. And again, you know, I will not name any brand or anything here, but they are beautiful. They are a work of art. They are like jewels, but it's a jewel that I know. It's a jewel that I know how I use them, and I know I will lose them. It's not a matter of if; it's a matter of when. And when that happens, I don't want to cry a river. Alright, I think I'm done here. Thanks again for watching. If you haven't done so already, please. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. You can subscribe, hit that notification bell. It helps me, it helps the channel growing. Thanks a lot. See ya.